Why you remember embarrassing moments more clearly. You can forget your anniversary, literally draw a blank on your own phone number, and spend 15 minutes standing in the grocery store aisle wondering why you came there in the first place. But that time in 8th grade, when you called your teacher mom in front of the whole class, that memory? Clear as day. Decades pass, and it still pops in your brain like an unskippable ad right before sleep. Here's the strange part. Science actually knows why these moments stick. A 2004 study from the University of St. Andrews found that self-conscious emotions like embarrassment activate the brain's memory center more intensely than even joy or sadness. And it's not just your imagination. Your amygdala and hippocampus literally bond over your cringe. In fact, your brain treats embarrassment like a survival event. Yeah, like running from a lion. And the result? Your most awkward failures get burnt into long-term memory, while you can't even remember what you had for lunch yesterday. So why does this happen? And what does it reveal about how your brain truly works? Let's break down the surprising and honestly kind of brutal psychology behind your most unforgettable cringe. In this video, we're diving deep into your brain to uncover 10 powerful psychological reasons why embarrassing moments feel impossible to forget. Why that awkward wave to someone who wasn't waving at you, or that drunk text you wish you could take back, still replays in your mind like a scene from a horror film you didn't sign up for. How your brain quietly replays your worst moments on loop, even decades later. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for reason number 1. It reveals a Stone Age wiring system buried deep in your brain. One that evolved to keep you alive, but now just makes you cringe at parties instead. Number 10, the spotlight error. Imagine walking out of a restroom with toilet paper stuck to your shoe, and for hours, maybe days, it nags at you. You keep thinking everyone saw, everyone noticed. I can't show my face again. But here's what's wild. They probably didn't. It's called the spotlight effect, a cognitive bias where you wildly overestimate how much other people notice your flaws, fumbles, fashion choices, or your failings. The term was coined by psychologists Thomas Gilovich, Victoria Medvec, and Kenneth Savitsky in a 2000 study at Cornell University. Participants had to wear an embarrassing t-shirt. Think Barry Manilow levels of uncool, and predicted that nearly 50% of strangers noticed it. But in reality, less than 25% did. Half as many as they assumed. Why? Because everyone is too busy thinking about themselves, including you. Your own inner critic creates an imaginary audience, one that remembers what you said, how you tripped, what you wore. But here's the truth. You are the star of a movie, but in everyone else's, you're background noise. Still, that one awkward moment keeps playing full screen in your mind like it went viral. Why does that happen? Because your brain believes if you notice your mistake, everyone must have. So next time you're lying awake cringing about something small and stupid, ask yourself, would I even remember if someone else had done it? Chances are you wouldn't. Have you ever obsessed over something you were sure everyone noticed, but probably didn't? Drop in the comments. Let's normalize it. Number 9, negative memories are tattooed in emotion ink. Your brain doesn't remember everything. It filters, edits, rearranges, and forgets. But some memories? They get burned in like emotional tattoos. Not because they're the most important, but because they hurt. Here's the neuroscience. When you experience intense emotions, your brain's amygdala, responsible for detecting threats, works overtime with the hippocampus, the region responsible for forming memories. Professor Elizabeth Phelps from NYU puts it simply, emotion acts as a highlighter for memory. Anything charged with fear, shame, or humiliation gets stamped as critical for future survival. It's automatic, it's neurochemical, and it's why you remember the worst moments best. A study published in Nature Reviews Neuroscience found that emotionally intense events activate the brain's default mode network repeatedly, sometimes for years, strengthening those connections. Neutral memories? They fade. But negative ones? Replay louder, sharper, and more distorted each time. Imagine your brain as a librarian. A normal day, the librarian files it away quietly. But embarrassment? It slaps a giant red "Do not forget" sticker on that memory and files it in the panic section. Let's be clear, you're not dramatic, you're wired that way. Because remembering emotional pain keeps you from repeating mistakes. But in the modern world, a text sent to the wrong person or a voice crack during karaoke isn't life-threatening. It just feels that way. Number 8, you're wired for social survival. You've heard of fight or flight. But in the modern world, there's another fear baked deeper than fear of physical danger: being kicked out of the tribe. Back in the Stone Age, embarrassment wasn't just uncomfortable, it was potentially fatal. Do you like your group? You're unreliable, awkward, or worse, untrustworthy. And if the tribe rejects you, you don't eat. You don't survive. Game over. That's why embarrassment recruits the same brain systems as physical pain, according to leading neuroscience research by Dr. Matthew Lieberman at UCLA. Rejection, even imagined, tears at the brain like being cut. Lieberman used fMRI scans to show that the anterior cingulate cortex, which reacts to physical pain, also lights up when we feel excluded or humiliated. In essence, the pain from embarrassment isn't just emotional, it's biological. You're not weak for feeling distressed after a social slip-up. Your brain is protecting your place in the pack. So even though tripping in front of strangers in 2025 won't get you exiled, your brain doesn't know that. To your internal wiring, a blush in public is equivalent to being chased by wolves. Number 7, you replay your cringe more than you should. Let's say you bombed a first date. You laughed too loud, said something awkward, or maybe they forgot their name, and now it lives rent-free in your head. The more you replay it, the worse it feels. But here's the plot twist. Replaying it over and over actually rewires your brain to remember it more clearly. This is known as reconsolidation, a process where every time you retrieve a memory, your brain rewrites it slightly and solidifies it even deeper. Kind of like hitting save every time you open a document, even if you're just reading it. In 2000, researcher Kareem Nader discovered that recalled memories temporarily become malleable, and your brain can either reinforce or modify them. The problem? Most of us don't re-edit our embarrassing memories. We amplify them, especially the parts we regret most. You think you're processing it, but really, you're rehearsing it. And each rehearsal makes it more vivid. Number 6, you're comparing against who you want to be. Ever said something dumb and instantly thought, "That's not me"? That's because you weren't just embarrassed. You disappointed the version of yourself you're trying to become. This is part of self-discrepancy theory, introduced by psychologist Torrey Higgins in 1987. We carry around 3 versions of ourselves: who we are now, who we think we should be, and who we wish we were. When you embarrass yourself, it's not just about what happened. It's about falling short of your ideal self. That gap between who you were in that moment and who you want to be creates a strong emotional punishment. And the result? It clings to your identity like a shameful sticker on your face. You're not just remembering a mess up. You're remembering your failure to be who you said you were. That hits harder, and it lasts longer. Number 5, embarrassment equals learning moment equals memory boost. Think about your most cringe-worthy memory, the one you never want to relive. Now think of a lesson, any lesson you never forget. I bet they're the same moment. That's not a coincidence. It's an evolutionary design. According to Dr. Daniel Shatter from Harvard, your brain encodes painful or embarrassing moments as what he calls adaptive memory errors. They're technically mistakes, but ones built to help you survive by learning from failure. In prehistoric times, if you drank from the wrong stream and got sick, you didn't just remember the water. Your brain filed it under "never do this again." Embarrassment follows the same rule. Your brain uses shame as a reinforcement tool. Emotional pain is the price of the lesson. So yes, it's unpleasant. But beneath that pain, there's growth being burnt into your biology. Number 4, you can't escape you. You can leave awkward conversations. You can walk away from your past school. You can even delete every photo from that terrible haircut era. But you can't walk away from your own mind. That's the trouble with embarrassment. It follows you home. It follows you to bed. And it follows you into the future. This is where metacognition kicks in, your ability to think about your own thinking. And it's a double-edged sword. Most of the time, it's a gift. It helps you reflect, improve, and grow. But when it latches onto embarrassment, it becomes a loop. You don't just feel bad. You start judging yourself for feeling bad. One of the most famous studies in this area is Daniel Wegner's White Bear experiment from 1994. Participants were asked to not think about a white bear. Predictably, they couldn't stop thinking about it. This ironic rebound effect, where trying not to think about something only strengthens it, is exactly what happens with cringe memories. The moment you say to yourself, "Don't think about that awkward thing I said," your brain does because your brain isn't great at don't. It only hears the thought, not the command. So the harder you try to forget that embarrassing moment, the deeper it digs in. Number 3, memories get filed by shame, not time. You might think your brain is like a diary, memories stored by date, neat and organized. But it's not. Your brain is more like a Google Drive full of photos, and it doesn't sort by timestamps. It sorts by emotion. This is especially true for moments marked by fear, shame, or humiliation. A seemingly trivial moment, like forgetting someone's name or waving at a stranger, can still feel fresh 10 years later. Why? Because your brain filed it under high alert. Avoid this scenario. Psychologists call this salience-based encoding, where emotionally charged experiences are given preferential storage in long-term memory. In other words, that random thing from middle school that still makes you wince. It isn't alive in your mind because it was important. It's alive because it was emotionally loud. Your brain isn't asking, "Was this relevant?" It's asking, "How did this feel?" And shame? That ranks very high on your brain's emotion index. Number 2, you judge yourself worse than others do. You forget a name at a party. You make a weird joke that gets silence. You trip on the sidewalk in front of 5 strangers. And later, when you're alone, you roast yourself. But here's the thing. If someone else did the exact same thing, you'd probably laugh, say no big deal, and move on. So why can't you give yourself the same grace? Because your brain holds a special rulebook just for you, and it's brutal. According to studies published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, people consistently judge themselves more harshly than they judge others for the same mistakes. Why? Because of the self-criticism bias. You have inside access to your thoughts, your intentions, and your insecurities, and that insight becomes ammunition. Imagine walking around with a funhouse mirror, but one that only distorts your reflection. That's your mind on embarrassment. You don't see the truth. You see a warped version of your own mistake. But remember, you only see the replay. They only saw a moment. Most people didn't even notice. And those who did forgot 5 minutes later. Think of something dumb you once said. Would you judge a friend as harshly as you judge yourself? And number 1, you cringe because you care. We said a lot about why your brain clings to embarrassment. But here's the plot twist. The very fact that you remember cringe so sharply, it means something really good about you. You feel embarrassment because you're emotionally intelligent, because you're socially aware, because you care what others feel and how others feel around you. Psychologist June Tangney, one of the world's leading experts on self-conscious emotions, found that people who experience more embarrassment tend to be more trustworthy, empathetic, and morally conscientious. Why? Because embarrassment is one of your brain's ways of saying, "Hey, I want to be better." It's a self-correcting emotion. It's social glue. And believe it or not, it's pro-social. That moment you still cringe over, you remember it not because you're broken, but because you're wired to connect. An embarrassment? That's just your mind showing proof that you care. In a world full of people who, that's a strength. You remember the cringe because you're not a sociopath. So now you know, your embarrassing memories, the ones you wish you could delete, aren't signs you're broken. They're signs you have a mind that cares, that learns, and that wants to belong. But here's the wild part. Most people live their entire lives never understanding this. They carry shame for decades, not knowing why it's stuck or how to let it go. So if today gave you a new way to think about yourself, if even one of these hit you hard, imagine what's coming next. Join a community of over 100,000 curious minds learning what their brain doesn't tell them up front. Hit subscribe and keep exploring the parts of your psychology that actually run the show. Which one hit you hardest? Drop the number in the comments.